So, no baseball tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I will say there is a positive. It allows me to kind of reconfigure what's going on with the channel. And we do have some stuff that I haven't been able to talk about. Specifically talking about teams getting new managers, which I think we're up to 3 or 4 teams that have now made their decision as to where they're going with their managers. Also, the Nationals up 2-0 on the Astros in the World Series. What? I don't think anyone saw this coming. I know in my video talking about the predictions, I said the Nationals have a better chance to sweep than the Astros, but I didn't think that that would actually possibly happen, and right now, the Nationals are looking unbeatable. Juan Soto has been absolutely going off. He's only 20 years old, and he is hitting the ball at all fields with power. He's having a fantastic series. Trey Turner is causing issues. Adam Eaton had a big night last night. The pitchers, Strasburg, Scherzer, on the money, doing exactly what the Nationals need, keeping the game close. We really might be seeing a huge upset here. Everyone doubted the Nationals, including myself, and they're just playing so good. But we're not here to talk about the Nationals Astros. We're here to talk about the new managers and the hirings that have gone on thus far in Major League Baseball. Before we get going into it, as always, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like on it. That's the best way to show your support. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you enjoy the content. If you love baseball, this is the place to be. Click that sub button, join the team. Remember to get in the comment section down below. Give me your thoughts and opinions on all the managerial hirings, whether you like them, dislike them, or maybe some predictions as to what you think the other teams will do. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description. I'm always talking baseball over there. And now it's time to talk about the moves. Now, I think this was over a week ago. We had the Los Angeles Angels getting the first managerial hiring of the offseason. Even though it's still technically the 2019 season, I'll count it the offseason. We had the Los Angeles Angels hire Joe Maddon, former manager of the Cubs and Rays, as their new skipper. This was pretty much the plan. Everyone expected Joe Maddon to go to the Angels. Even once there was a spark or just a rumor that Joe Maddon and the Cubs were going to split ways, it immediately became obvious that it seemed like Joe Maddon and the Angels was a good fit. Personally, for me, this is what I predicted as well. It wasn't a very tough decision to make for me on the predicting side. It just seemed like it made a lot of sense. He's been a coach on the Angels staff before. It just seemed like it was a fit that made a lot of sense. The Angels aren't really in that rebuilding phase, but they're also not a team that's ready to be a contender just yet. I mean, they obviously have great players in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but now it's about getting all the other pieces around them to become a real contender in the American League, because right now they aren't. Does the Joe Maddon hiring automatically make the Angels a team that can compete in the American League and even in the American League West? No, I still think they're the 3rd best team probably in that division. And in terms of the American League, I just don't see them as a playoff team right now with how the way that team is built. Obviously, in the offseason, they can make a lot of moves. They could try to get an Anthony Rendon. They could try to get a Garrett Cole. They could try to get some bigger names to help out, specifically in their pitching, and honestly, even their hitting needs a lot of help. They didn't have a lot of bats this year. I think this is a step in the right direction for the Angels. I think they're moving forward in a good way, but there is still a lot of work to be done. But overall, good hire by them. And then today, we had the official announcement of a rumor from a couple days ago of the Chicago Cubs hiring David Ross as their new manager of that team. Obviously, they let go of Joe Maddon at the end of this year. I mean, his contract was up, and they just said, we're not going to bring him back. It made a lot of sense. Team definitely underperformed the past couple seasons. David Ross is an interesting hiring. I thought for sure the Cubs are going to get Joe Girardi. It seemed like that was just a match made in heaven. He was a former player. It had always been the rumor that Joe Girardi was going to come back, coach the Cubs. He's from Illinois, grew up a Cubs fan, but they went a different route. They went with David Ross, who's going to be a first-time manager. Obviously, he was a part of that 2016 World Series team. He's been around the league. He's a catcher, which, you know, typically the best managers tend to be catchers. He obviously knows the game well. He obviously knows how to interact with the players. He obviously gets the everyday grind that these guys go through. I don't think it's going to be an amazing signing. I don't think this is necessarily what makes the Cubs the best team in baseball, but I think it's a really smart signing. I think Theo Epstein and the Cubs did a great job. Out of all the guys that would be first-time managers, I think he makes the best fit for the Chicago Cubs. So for that reason, I think as a Cubs fan, you're probably excited. Obviously, you probably want a Girardi or maybe someone with a bigger name, but I think David Ross is going to do a pretty solid job over there. I'm interested to see how he handles the bullpen. You're never quite sure how it's going to work with a guy so fresh from being a player. I mean, he's what, only like 2 or 3 years retired now, but I think David Ross is a solid pickup for the Cubs as their manager. I'm interested to see what he does next season in his first year. But again, overall, I give that one a good hire as well. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Phillies, which, I can't believe this happened. Why? I almost want to talk about the Mets more with this move, which I will talk about them at some point. But the Phillies hired Joe Girardi, the guy I wanted the most for my team, the New York Mets. I thought he was the best manager available on the market. I was a big fan of him when he was with the Marlins back in the day. I thought he did a great job with those teams. He then went to the Yankees, won a World Series, was obviously a fine manager with them, did a really good job. We've seen guys have career years when he's been the manager. He just does something to get the players motivated. The Yankees fired him because they wanted more of a guy that they control, be a pawn. Aaron Boone's gonna listen to Brian Cashman more than Girardi. Girardi's definitely got a personality. He's got a little bit of an ego. He's not just gonna say, all right, you make the decisions for me. I'm the manager. I'm in charge, which personally I like a whole lot. GM builds the team, manager manages it. For the Phillies, huge upgrade. Gabe Kapler was so incredibly bad. He was probably the second worst manager in baseball behind Mickey Callaway Callaway, because both of those guys, I mean, horrible. Mickey bad for his own reasons. Gabe Kapler a little different. He was the biggest micromanager I've ever seen in Major League Baseball from what I can remember. I mean, it seemed like every single decision he needed to be on top of it, and that's not a bad thing, but also at the same time, he was the one making the phone calls to the bullpen. It seemed like he was the one who was talking to players. He was the one who was doing this and that. He just had his hands in too much, and I know I'm making it sound like him being involved was a bad thing, but micromanaging and being involved and having a clue is different, and he was just clearly micromanaging. He was like a helicopter parent, like you're doing your homework and they're like, did you check that answer? It's like, oh my god, let me think, let me do what I'm doing. It just felt like Gabe Kapler was constantly on top of everyone and not in a good way. Also, not to mention, he made some terrible decisions manager-wise. I mean, the bullpen he handled, he didn't have a great bullpen, but there was a lot of times where you go, what were you doing? And even the lineup sometimes, it was just like, I didn't like his decision-making, especially against the Mets. Like, there was games where I was like, really? That's what you're gonna do? And then you got Mickey Callaway who would step in and be like, don't worry, Gabe, I got you. I'll take over. But I think Joe Girardi's a really good hire. I think he's gonna fit in well with that team. They've got a lot of good talent on the offensive side. It's just a matter of that pitching. This Phillies team will not be a playoff team until they get pitching. So it's up to the GM and the front office to go out and get those pitchers that they're gonna need to go to the next level. Still not a playoff team in my mind, but they're definitely a lot closer, and I don't think Joe Girardi holds them back, that's for sure. Where Gabe Kapler, I thought, held them back a bit. And then the fourth and final hire that we've seen in Major League Baseball thus far is for the San Diego Padres, going a very unconventional route. The Padres hired Jace Tingler to be their new manager. And you're probably not familiar with that name because you shouldn't unless you watch Dominican Winter League Baseball. Obviously, this past year, the San Diego Padres had Andy Green. The Padres weren't supposed to be a good team, but they were expected to be a little bit better. Andy Green just really never was a great manager. From Padres fans that I've seen on Twitter and talking to, they just were never a fan of him. He was not a great manager. It was definitely time for him to go. This Jace Tingler guy is super unconventional, though. It's an interesting pick. I am definitely going to be watching how this plays out next year. But Tingler's 38 years old. He's one of the younger managers in Major League Baseball. For a Padres team that's going to be particularly young, the thing we've been waiting for with the Padres has been their prospects. So I think that's an interesting move. I kind of like the decision to go with a young coach to coach younger players. You don't want to have this huge disconnect, and I think Tingler being only 38 years old definitely helps that. Tingler served as the Major League Player Development Field Coordinator for the Rangers this past season, specifically working with outfielders and base runners, and he's currently managing a Winter League team in the Dominican Republic, which again, that's why I said at the beginning. One thing to note about Tingler is he's bilingual, which I think is actually going to be really good for the Padres, who have a lot of young prospects who don't necessarily speak English as their first language. This, I feel like, is something that kind of gets glossed over a little bit sometimes when you talk about these younger players. Obviously, they start to understand English as they get higher up in the system, but to be able to have a manager that can speak both English and Spanish, I think is going to be a huge advantage for the Padres. Overall, I don't necessarily know if I love this decision. I think for the Padres, who are a young team and who are still kind of figuring things out, it's okay to make this kind of risk because maybe it does pay off, and if it doesn't, you can go get another guy in a couple years. But if it does hit, you probably hit the jackpot here with a guy like Tingler. I don't necessarily love the move, but I get what the Padres are doing, and if I'm a Padres fan, I'm not upset about this, honestly. The team still has time before they're going to be necessarily like contenders. Why not give this guy a shot? Especially if they were high enough to grab him and pass on a guy like Ron Washington. As for the rest of the teams in baseball, still no answer about the Mets, still no answer about the Pirates, still no answer about the Royals, and still no answer about the Giants. It looks like Mike Matheny's gonna be the Royals coach. That's kind of what the rumors have been the past few days. And as for the Mets, I mean, it just seems like it's a mess again. Thought Girardi was the obvious choice. The Mets didn't go hard enough after him. We rushed to get Edwin Diaz and take on a huge contract to Robinson Cano so the Phillies wouldn't get him, but we didn't do that for Joe Girardi. I don't know how I feel about it. Who do I want as the Mets manager? I want experience. I really do. I don't want Eduardo Perez. I don't want one of these random guys who've never been a coach before, but it feels more and more every single day like we're gonna get a guy who's gonna be a pawn, who's gonna be told what to do. Brody's pretty much gonna run this team, and that guy's just gonna be the face as the manager. Do I like it? No. Is that what's gonna happen? Yes. I mean, it's inevitable at this point. Not really happy about it. So please, Mets, please just don't hire Eduardo Perez. Like, don't hire a TV personality. Don't hire someone crazy. If you're gonna go for the crazy pick, give me A-Rod or something at least. Don't give me Eduardo Perez. Like, oh, that name scares me so much. It really does. So that's pretty much it for what's been going on in the manager news. We don't have much else to talk about right now with baseball. The season is very, very close to ending. We have a few games left in the World Series. The Nats win 2 more games, and they are the 2019 MLB World Series champions. Crazy stuff. And then after that, we got awards, we got free agency. That's when things start to pick up again, but we're kind of in a slow period. I'm still gonna have plenty of videos for you guys, so of course, if you do like it, you know, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Stick around, join the team. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. That's the best way to show your support on the channel, as well as get in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all the managerial hirings. I'm gonna be answering some comments in there, so if you want to have a conversation, we can talk there, or we could talk on Twitter and Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description. I'm gonna wrap up today's video right there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do appreciate you. You know the drill. drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video, as well as this is my most recent upload. So click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you all for watching, guys, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye.